Hi there, good noon and welcome to BYJU'S exam prep channel that is dedicated to help you get through the finish line when it comes to your exams. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That also allows you to participate in the chat. Besides, if you press the bell icon, you'd also start getting the notifications, which means that you'd not miss out on any session whatsoever. You'd at least know there are these sessions that we are conducting. My name is Vikrant and I am your personal coach for all things related to English and communication here. And throughout this session, if you happen to have any question for me, please make sure that you drop it down below in the chat. And of course, there are ways of reaching out to me and the rest of our team later as well, which I'd share with you towards the end of the session. And this class is a practice session where we've started focusing on specific types of passages, right? So we've talked about, remember, psychology, anthropology, and now today we plan to talk about ecology. Now, as compared to the other areas, when it comes to ecology, there are some similarities and there is this dissimilarity. So let's go ahead and look at those as well. So to begin with, what exactly is ecology? Now, if I actually look at it from the perspective of the origin of the word, this would typically go on to mean the study of home. Now, we may look at it and wonder, the study of home, what is that supposed to mean? So, the home in this context is the earth. So you notice we happen to have a lot of different branches and segments. For example, there is this branch called microbiology where we study bacteria, viruses, etc. Then we happen to have this branch of science called botany. You happen to have zoology, you study plants, you study animals, and you also study those in between things like fungi. That's called mycology. And all of these are well and good, but then there are times when we want to study all of these things together. We want to figure out their relationship. We want to see how change in one goes on to affect the other. So we can at times focus on individual species and their population. We can go ahead and focus on the relationship between or among different species. It can also be the relationship of all those species with their natural environment, and at times we can also look at the entire earth as a system where all these interactions take place and how they feed off each other or affect each other negatively. So if you ask me for the definition, this is what I'll say. It is the study of the relationship between living organisms, including humans, but then it also involves plants, animals, microorganisms, fungi, and their physical environment. So we want to understand the connections between all of these things. So just like anthropology and philosophy, ecology also happens to be a very vast area. We cannot really confine it to one specific aspect, narrow aspect of science. But unlike all these other areas that we have studied so far, ecology thankfully does not have too much of a jargon. These are the kind of passages and articles where the language used is a very layperson language, right? Most of us actually also come across articles based on different aspects of ecology regularly in our newspapers, magazines, and TV channels, etc. So the relative comfort level here for quite a few of us is generally higher, and as a result, I'm not really going to talk about some specific books and other resources to tap into. Your typical resources like, remember, Smithsonian, The Guardian, New York Times, Eon Essays, all of those would typically suffice. They'd give you good enough practice. Let me go ahead and look at the chat as well. Good afternoon, everyone. When can we see the video solutions of the All India mock? Okay, the All India mock, the window closed yesterday. The solutions should appear or should be available to you today if there are no technical issues or glitches. Priyanshi, it appears that you are part of our paid course, So just reach out to us once, just drop us a message once using the official channels. You can also, for that matter, if you want me to champion it or follow it, I can just drop in a message and tell it that it should go to Vikrant, and that should generally do the trick. Okay. That's a little strange because the video solutions for all of them have been available. Sushri, why are you so down today as well? Am I a little down today? I don't know. If that's the case, I probably, yaar main na tere ko ek baat batao. I have this face. All of us have been given a particular face. Now I have a face that makes me look stern and serious. Okay, so look at this face now. Look at this face. I'm not serious, but that's how my face is. And in the early part of my career, I had a couple of colleagues who used to, as a result, call me Sadhu Singh. They're like, I am not Sadhu. I'm not sad, sulky, morose, gloomy. But that's the kind of face I have. But then I realized that when I smile, that generally dissipates. Okay, so hopefully that will help. But ऐसा है नहीं यार, ऐसा कुछ है नहीं. लो वो जिस दिन low होता हूँ ना, मैं उस दिन बोल देता हूँ. There are days when you are unwell or whatever. So I tell you to support me on that day. I ask you to bring in that energy to the session today. Okay. Palak, how to find articles on New York Times? Yeah, I can show that to you, but let's do that in the next session together, assuming that you'd be attending it. Okay. Oh, Sonali, under 200. Not bad, huh? That sounds, what do people nowadays call it? That sounds sick. Okay, so get ready for a couple of passages that are based on ecology. Here is the first one. Take a couple of deep breaths and focus. Sushri, it could be, probably it has to do with the volume or something, but I think even the volume part is absolutely all right. There do not seem to be, you don't seem to have very many issues here. Let me see if I can tinker a little more. Let me just confirm it. No, absolutely okay. All things are as usual. Okay, so ready for the passage? Here it is on the screen. Once you are done with the paragraph, let me know and I'll take you over to the next one. Let's get cracking. Saket, can we do questions in practice? Saket, absolutely. If you have dropped a critical reasoning doubt, I'm sure we'll definitely take care of this. You want more practice of CR? We can. We do get these questions in NMAT and ZAT, etc. So we can go ahead and start working on them soon. Okay, so Nidhi has read it. If one more person confirms it, we can move on. Okay, so here is the next couple of paragraphs. Sushri, have you ever seen me mind anything? Just have one tiny life. Just have fun. It's okay. It's good that you shared what you felt. It's absolutely all right. Okay, here is the next one. Whoops, sorry, pressed the wrong button. Here is the next paragraph. And this is the only instance where I could not fit an entire paragraph onto a single slide, so it will spill over to the next slide, okay? So please don't mind that. Oh, fantastic. Okay, next part of that paragraph. All right, so here is the last paragraph for you. Okay. Vaishnav, you are on a roll today. You are reading rather fast. That sounds nice. All right, so over to the questions now. Here is your question number 1 on the screen. Go ahead and tell me what the answer should be. So as long as Vaishnav, as long as you are able to combine it with generating an overview, absolutely nothing like it. Okay, between B and C, all right. Are you sure? A. Okay. So the correct answer is D. Did you notice this? Or do I need to capitalize the not always? What if the examiner does not capitalize it? A is true. So A and B are ruled out at this juncture itself. So as we look at B, having a static view of environmental regulations is not desirable. True, no? See, this static mindset has thus created a self-fulfilling prophecy leading to even more regulators. So they don't need to look at just this. They do not need to have this mindset where you can either have technological advancements or cost or lower costs. It is in fact mentioned in the first paragraph as well. Okay, so even B is true, can be inferred from the passage. On the other hand, when it comes to C, can I say it is one of those situations where the data provided are insufficient? There is nothing that has been talked about it with respect to the shareholders and whether there are agreements or disagreements in a particular request. And therefore, the correct label that we apply on C will be can't say. So A and B are true, C is not true. That is why our answer is option D, only C. Okay, so here is the next one. Question number 2 on the screen. What can you infer about the author of the passage? Yeah, I know at times ABC and then the ABC lower down as well. I can understand, but then I'm sure you are more than capable to deal with it. Absolutely, yes. The correct answer is B. Is the author Dutch? He gives an example, but that does not really make him necessarily Dutch. Is he pessimistic? Nope. Encouraging us to adopt closed loop system for all crops and forests. Well, he has definitely used an example that talks about one situation where closed loop systems have been useful. But to generalize it to all crops and even forests, now that'll be too much of a stretch. That is something that cannot be determined. And I think in the case of forests, we can call it probably false. So that should help us rule out D. Is the author pessimistic about the outlook people have towards environment protection? So pessimist is where you believe that nothing good is going to come out of it. But then look at the Dutch example. The author has given it to prove that, hey, something can be done. So he's not. He's giving those examples because he's an optimist, because he believes that this problem, this dual challenge can actually be resolved. So that is why we choose B over C. And here is the next one. Vaishnav, it was not a main idea question, so narrow etc. would not even work. It was actually an inference based question. So is this one for that matter. Okay, so the need, okay, so let's look at E. Exists in different intensities among the stakeholders. My answer will be, or my label to this will be, cannot say. What I do know is that there are people who are in favor of regulations to protect the environment, and then there are people who are against those regulations, right? Look at the very first paragraph. Let's just go back and have a look at that. So progress on environmental quality has become a kind of arm wrestling match. One side pushes for tougher stands, the other tries to roll them back. So there are people who are in favor of the sorry, regulations, and then there are people who are against those regulations. So, but then where is this discussion of intensity, how strongly or mildly you feel about the regulation, the need for regulation? It's not something that can be determined. B is affected by political ideologies. That is true. I can actually take you back to the very first paragraph. In fact, the lines that we've just highlighted. Okay, yeah, the last sentence of the first paragraph, the balance of power shifts one way or the other depending upon the prevailing political winds. So basically the politics or political ideology is definitely influencing it. See, it always turns out to be an expensive affair, but people believe that it always turns out to be an expensive affair, but it need not be the case according to the passage. Dutch example, remember? So this is false. We know of at least one situation where it in fact made things easier, simpler, right? And therefore our answer should actually be option B. Whoops, which is something that I did not really create, which I forgot to create. So I need B. C is false, so B and D are definitely ruled out. And now between A and C, which one should be better? We know that A is not something that we can infer, but which one of these two should be better? I think option C should be better because B is true. We prefer to have that in the mix. Okay, so here is the last question based on the passage. Let's have a quick look at this. Which of the following is a suitable title for the passage? Oops, my bad. So what is the key theme? The very first paragraph says that we've converted this into zero-sum game. There is a tug of war between protecting the environment and keeping the costs low. And then the author says that need not be the case. We can go beyond this binary and explore technology and other aspect related solutions, situations that can help us accommodate both of these things, keep the costs low as well as protect the environment. And that is captured best by option B. Notice green and competitive. So A does not capture the theme correctly. It just talks about the fact that we need stringent environmental regulations. The passage on the other hand talks about the fact that regulations can increase the costs and there is a tug of war where at times it can keep getting rolled back. C is too narrow and D is once again, it is irrelevant to this particular passage. Okay, so that's about passage 1. Let's gear up for our next passage. So get rid of the first passage from your mind, and start reading this now. Oh, and could you also give me some music recommendations? Yesterday I just wanted to listen to some soft, soothing music, and I realized that I've been listening to the same set of songs for quite a while. Any new, maybe an indie song that you came across, something from blues, maybe some new song, etc., that has come out, which is like soft and soothing, not exactly a romantic Arijit Singh kind of soft, but do drop in your recommendations. Okay, I would like to update my playlist. Whichever, Sonali, does not matter. Hindi, English, Punjabi, Bangla. Celtic. Remember there's a singer called Enya? I for that matter even listened to Celtic folk. Okay. Wow. Heat Waves by Glass Animals. The Local Train. Great. Okay, so coming back to the passage. Okay, so you can drop in the recommendations even towards the end of the passage. So keep thinking and then keep dropping in. Then I'd let you know how they go in our next class. Tarun, I've heard Anup Jain. He's a couple of his songs are anyway part of my playlist. He's becoming very popular in the indie circles, no? Khab is, of course, yes, I've heard that a lot, yeah. Acha, oh, but I suddenly realized that I have sidetracked you from the passage, so let's just focus on this. And once you're done reading it, let me know so that I can take you over to the next paragraph. Ooh, Sonali, could you also add the artist for experience? In the shirt is still probably I'll be able to look it up on Spotify. Experience sounds like a very generic title. Okay, fantastic, Siddharth. Siddharth, I'm giving others 5 odd seconds to catch up. I unfortunately ended up distracting you, so. Here is the next one. Done? Okay, here is the next one. Okay. Guys, you've managed to read this paragraph? So, ready? So here is the first question based on the passage, once again asking you for the most suitable theme for this particular passage. Okay, so B versus C. Now notice B says the green premium will be acceptable to most consumers. All we know is that there will be a green premium. Will it be acceptable to most of the consumers or not is something that cannot be determined on the basis of what is provided in the passage, whereas C can be arrived at on the basis of the first paragraph itself, and therefore when it comes to this particular question we should opt for C over the other choices. Next, but I think most of you have anyway managed to get this right. Tone, huh? It has been a while since we looked at a tone based question here on this channel, but पेपर में भी उतने ज़्यादा आ नहीं रहे आजकल, तो फिर इसलिए कहीं ना कहीं ये थोड़े यहाँ पे भी कम हो गए थे, just following that trend. So I'll tell you how I go about it. It is very easy for us to figure out whether the tone of the author was positive or negative. And I'm saying easy for me, and I'm sure easy for quite a lot of you as well. So in this particular case, I think you and I can definitely agree on this fact that the author's tone was definitely not negative. And if it was not negative, A and C both get ruled out because they are negative, right? Pedantic is somebody who is overtly concerned about even the minor details, minor rules, minor regulations. Okay, pedantic will be something like, oh, let us say, you see people who label foods as healthy foods. Now, I know that there is nothing called a healthy food. That's incorrect. Foods that promote health are known as healthful foods. Now, if I start correcting everybody on this, then that'll be pedantic. See, most of us anyway understand what is meant by healthy foods, right? So I don't do that because I'm not pedantic. Of course, at times I'm forced to do that in the English classes because I have to prepare you for grammar, but in my day-to-day life, I don't do that. So that's the kind of attitude which is pedantic, and didactic is sermonizing. वो लेक्चर नहीं देते जैसे बोरिंग सा, डल सा, It's like preaching people on a particular thing. So A and C ruled out, that leaves you with B and D. Satirical. Satire is using humor to comment on some underlying social anomaly. There was no humor here. And therefore, B is also ruled out. So the best answer choice that is left for us is option D. Sushri says, will you teach describing pictures? Can you elaborate on it? I mean, describing pictures, what are we talking about? Okay, next question for you. Which of the following is not unlikely to be author's viewpoint? This time around, do pay attention to this, okay? All right, so let's dive into this. So we're thinking A, B, D. Oh, a lot of different options got chosen this time around apparently. So let's see. So not and un of the unlikely cancel out. So which of the following is likely to be the author's viewpoint, right? So let's start with A. Sectors such as steel, cement, shipping are not amenable to decarbonization due to significant costs involved in Are they not amenable? Not amenable to decarbonization means that we cannot decarbonize them, but the author believes that we can. In some sectors, we need to come up with innovative solutions, remember? So, to say that these are not amenable will not be entirely correct. In fact, let's look at the author's words specifically. Hard to abate, but it does not mean that they are not amenable. And then look at this, vital to focus research and development, breakthrough technologies that might reduce the premium. So there is a possibility that we can reduce that. So not amenable basically means we cannot do that. They won't lead to that we not be able to decarbonize them. So that's not true. B, consumers may be willing to pay more for industrial products, but they may be reluctant to pay more for food. I think we can infer it from this particular part of the passage. See, for consumers, a 10% green premium for food would matter more than even 100% premium for steel. So on the basis of this line, we can definitely infer B. So that's true. Synthetic meat is as tasty at present as animal meat, cannot be determined. We have not talked about taste, we've talked about texture though. Large investments in R&D are necessary in order to reduce the quantum from today's carbon emitting technologies. Necessary. Where will we get that? Anywhere where we say necessary. The author is seeking new technologies with lower emission levels. But is the author seeking lower emission levels from today's technologies? The author is talking about, hey, let's come up with new technologies that that produce less emissions. The author is not saying, let us make the existing technologies release less emissions. So that's a very subtle, very slight, but very important distortion, and therefore even D can be ruled out. So best answer choice is B. Okay, and here is the next question for you. A pure comprehension based question. Then yes, absolutely, Divij. We can also say that it has been said in the context of some industries and not all, and therefore It is a generalization too. Okay, oh Micah, you need to write a story. That is a story written on the basis of the pictures. You don't describe the pictures there, you write a story. So will we cover that? Yes, we will cover that. We'll definitely prepare you for that before the MyCat. And who recommended this? Praveen. हुकुम टाइगर का हुकुम. चले नाम से तो नहीं लग रहा सॉफ्ट सॉन्ग. हाँ, रैप टाइप का लग रहा कुछ नया. Okay, Nidhi, Siddharth, Shri, I see that. So green cost premium. So green cost premium here basically means what? That if you are adopting a green technology, the costs will go up and therefore you need to pay that premium for that cost. So in paragraph 3 there is a sentence. It says in some hard to abate sectors blah blah blah, but doing so might increase costs by 25%. Long distance ships could be powered, but the costs might increase. Therefore in some sectors we face a green cost premium versus today's carbon emitting technologies. So let's see, B versus D appears to be the case. B says the surplus amount the consumers have to pay for a zero carbon product or service vis-a-vis its carbon emitting counterpart. D is the surplus that consumers have to pay for a product or service that emits less carbon. So I think the only difference between B and D is zero carbon or less carbon. So is the green cost premium associated only with zero carbon? No. It is a premium that we need to pay to reduce the amount of to reduce the amount of emissions basically, and not necessarily zero. So I think going by this, we should prefer D over B. Right? It is not necessarily about the premium won't happen only when you make the carbon zero. You'd have to pay for it even before that, right? And that's why D should be preferred over B. So that's where we stop today, but here is a thought for you to consider. Don't focus on why you cannot do something, focus on why you can. So don't think of I won't be selected because of this and that. Think of what can I do so that I get selected. So just bring in that tiny little change. And thank you for your song recommendations. I will go through those songs and I'll let you know how that works. Okay, so that's it from me today. If you liked working with me, don't forget to like the session, and for more practice you can consider joining a test series which gives you tons of practice and loads of mock tests. We still have a new batch, the last new batch available at the moment, that can lead you to great percentiles. You can experience it through unlocking the 3-day free trial, and you can also sit for the scholarship test to make it an absolutely tantalizing proposition. Okay, so that's it from me today. Until I see you next, stay safe, stay focused, stay in touch. Have a great day ahead. Take care.